Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. We've got play of props continuing along here on Wednesday. 10 games to choose from in the NBA. Feeling pretty good about the slate and the picks we got here for you. Also have a best bets video up with 4 picks in there as well. So continue to like the videos, subscribe to the page, and follow along all season with us. Also head to thelines.com. Use the odds finder tool that we have up on the site to make sure that you're getting the best juice available to you from all of these books giving you bets in the NBA this season. Nate, let's go ahead and get into your play a prop here to kick things off. 2-2 last night, I will mention in the play of props, but we'll pick it up and get above 500 here.
Yeah, 2-2, and I regret not going with my gut on Ja Morant, who I was having a little debate with Josh about him getting 25, and that crazy comeback goes for 34. Also,
we totally reversed roles there, where like I was like, no, I don't know, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
like,
throwing all this caution out there about him coming back and not having his wind, where I'm just like, it's a suspension, it's not an injury. Anyway. Right. We move on, and I guess maybe that's partially why I'm taking 24.5 points for Tyrese Maxey, another explosive guard, facing a big team. And initially, I'm looking at Embiid. The props are so elevated after he just has dominated a march of tomato cans into Philadelphia, where, you know, in the last 6 at home, both Embiid and Maxey have put up crazy numbers considering they haven't played in 3 fourth quarters in that span. Maxey's getting 27 a game, along with 6.5 assists on 28% usage, with Embiid getting 38% usage. So it's just very reliable who's going to be shooting on this team. And I like the Maxey angle. It's obviously a little more vulnerable of a number. Embiid has to bang with Gobert. And Maxey's facing a bigger defensive team. And against these teams that are like, would be represented as like really good in the paint, really good on the wing, he generally goes for about 30. Like, look at this the game log: 29 against Chicago, 33 NOLA, 31 against LA in 3 quarters, 30 against Cleveland, 34 Toronto, 31 Milwaukee. Yes, he only had 16 and 8 at Minnesota about a month ago, November 22nd, and he shot very poorly. But he does average 2 more points per game at home, 26.5. He still averages just 24.5 on the road. And that comes again despite the lower minutes, because 4 of their last 5 home games have been blowouts. The Wolves and Sixers are probably going to play a very close game here. I despite the really good defensive rating for both teams, Minnesota is much more vulnerable on the road. And Anthony Edwards is the primary defensive matchup. His defensive rating is 10 points worse on the road than it is at home. And I don't know, I mean, how much of the eye test you can see, but since he really hurt his hip, I mean, has his defense struggled a little bit? He's certainly fallen off as that true two-way dominant force that we saw to open the season that was like really in the MVP conversation. And so I don't know if he can keep Tyrese, maybe the fastest guy off the dribble, out of the paint here and out of, from getting his points at home in a close game.
Yep. I dig it. I'll keep riding with Maxey. I thought his prop would still stay up around 25.5 or so, but if you can get him to get 25 points still at home, I'm with it. I really have not too much to add. This is another like decent matchup anyway. I don't think that there's a true stopper out there for Maxey specifically on Minnesota, where that is the only point of the court that they might be slightly vulnerable on defense right now, especially on the road. So let me go under for Jared Allen. This might seem a little bit scary as well because they're playing the Jazz, but let me talk about it. Jared Allen under 26.5 points and rebounds. And it's a Walker Kessler bet. It's what I continue to look for, is these moments in time where the books, the public perception, whomever is the reason that this line is so high for Jared Allen, isn't taking into consideration that Utah has Walker Kessler. And when they have Walker Kessler in there, they are a top 5 defensive team down low, bar none, period. You can score on them from the outside a bit more, but I will also say that Colin Sexton equals much more defense than Keontae George or Jordan Clarkson, who are both out for this game. So maybe there will be a little bit more defense in the backcourt for Utah. Either way, for Jay Allen, Walker Kessler's back. He's been back for the last 2.5 weeks. In those last 2 weeks, Utah has climbed all the way up from like a bottom 15 team in terms of defending and limiting centers to the 6th fewest points per game, 2 centers, the fewest rebounds per game, 2 centers in the last 2 weeks, because once again, of the fact that he's back, Mr. Kessler. They are up to 7th in limiting opponents rebounding on the season. They were outside of the top 10 for most of this season because of the fact that Walker Kessler was hurt for the first month or so. And Allen is going to be playing without Evan Mobley, which might make you think, again, oh, that means that he's just going to gobble everything up. And to be honest, it doesn't, because there's not really much in the way of rebounding for this team outside of those two guys. Max Strus, notwithstanding, by the way, really underrated rebounder. We move on. Actually, might even consider his rebounds in a situation like this, where Jared Allen's going to be busy boxing out Walker Kessler. His rebound chances are pretty high, but they're not, the rebound percentage is not high because, again, it's sort of the Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle thing. There's a lot of times where he's just boxing everybody out for Julius Randle to get the boards. Same concept here for Allen and Mobley, where I do believe Allen is the enforcer more so, and Mobley's the, you're free to go get the rebound kind of guy. In the 6 games without Mobley, he's at 11 points per game, 8.5 boards, and 30 minutes. His minutes are lower with Mobley, but his points go up, and his rebounds are the same. 13 points a game with Mobley, 8.3 boards, and 28 minutes per game. So, he's way less efficient with Mobley on the bench or not even out there. He's played 22 games this season. He's gone over 18 times. So this just tells me it's a bloated line because of, once again, this incorrect perception that he's going to be better without Mobley and get more rebounds, and that Utah is just not that good. 15.5 points is really what the main issue is here with Jared Allen. Maybe you prefer to just take the under on the points because you are scared that he can have the random 15 rebound game, and I get that. But if he gets 15 rebounds and needs 12 points, I still feel comfortable with it. And 15 rebounds would be wild, right? So I do think that this is too high and that it should be around 21, 22 and a half.
Yeah, that's fair. I was going to ask you about the points versus the rebounds because, there could be some really bad offense from Utah on the road against this Cavs defense. But, I mean, they have been pretty solid lately with THT and Colin Sexton balling out. A revenge spot for Sexton. We have to plug it once again. I mean, he's gone over his prop in 5 straight. Still only 1 point higher if you want the good juice. And Donnie Mitchell projected for 32.5 without Garland on the other side of the ball. So, I mean, when Mitchell just looks for his shot like this, he doesn't really look for his center as a dump off, right? He can just get to the rim. I mean, who's going to be rebounding the ball? Dean Wade. That's who. Coming in from the wing. So, interested in his performance as well. I'm going to try to get some Pacers inflation here and take a Charlotte Hornet in a game with a 250 total. Brandon Miller, let's go with the Rook. 22.5 points, rebounds, assists. He's averaging over that in his last 10, 16 points, 4.1 rebounds, 2.5 assists on 23.5% usage, despite some pretty poor shooting, shooting 40% from the field, but 41% from deep, which is helpful against a Pacers team that gives up the highest percentage from deep, even though they limit attempts. They also give up the most paint points and the most free throws, and the 4th most points to small forwards. So Brandon Miller going to be able to get to the rim here. Miles Turner is questionable as well, which would just turn this into a complete track meet free-for-all where everybody's going over. But Miller's numbers are still pretty low, in part because, I mean, they've played some really tough defenses lately, and he's still been able to go over this in 3 of his last 5 on the road. Those 3 against Miami, New York, Knicks, and the Orlando Magic. I mean, they're very tough interior defenses compared to the Indiana Pacers that I just detailed. And he's playing over 36 minutes, even if the Hornets get blown out, right? I mean, they've lost by 10 plus in 4 of their last 5 on the road. He's still playing 36.6 minutes per game. We know LaMelo Ball is out. They just want to give him a look. Their season is not going anywhere. And so, Brandon Miller to just attack this Pacers defense and score in a game with a very high scoring environment.
Yeah. I like it. I'm assuming it's 2.5 threes for Brandon Miller. I continue to attack that in situations where teams like the Pacers don't defend the 3, don't really defend down low, don't really defend, to be honest. The Indiana Pacers. Thank God they have a D in their name so we could do that. Let's close it out with our boy, La Flama Blanca, and heretofore La Flama Blanca, just so you know. I'm no longer calling him Kobe White, so you know who I'm talking about when I reference him. 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I'm going all the way with all of the stats for him. Weird game to try to break down without the understanding. Do you think LeBron or AD are playing? Do you have any indication there? Because they're both just questionable.
But they both have props up. So,
they both have props up. Same old story. Kristaps had props up yesterday, but he didn't play, which is wonderful for that Derek White bet. But the 33.5 PRA for Kobe last 9 games since Levine's been out. I also just want to mention this. It was a 7-point spread for in favor of the visiting Lakers, which I couldn't get to early enough because as soon as I saw it was already at -4 for the Lake Show, and I'm looking at still at -4. I think I would still take that. I love getting it over 5 if you can, but I might as well just take 4 points is kind of like, well, let's just take the money line for the Bulls at home at this point as well. But they're the best team against the spread in their last 9 games since they lost Zach LaVine, whose trade value is just plummeting every day that this team is so much better without him. 8-1 against the spread, 7-2 to the over. This ain't I can't even say your older brother Bulls because it's like literally 4 weeks ago. This ain't your newborn's Bulls if he was born 4 weeks ago. Like, this is a team that is fun to watch. It's crazy to say that the Bulls are fun to watch. The Bulls are scoring in the top 10 in terms of field goals made off of assists. If you've been following anything to do with Chicago for like 3 seasons now, you know that they are always in the bottom 5 in terms of the amount of shots that they make that are assisted because it's your turn, my turn, and then some clunky form of Nikola Vucevic trying to play with those 2 guards. Well, Kobe White, man, is the glue and a superstar glue. Like, he's borderline all-star right now without Zach LaVine. In those last 9 games, averaging 25 points, averaging nearly 7 rebounds and 7 assists, 6.5 boards to be very clear. So that gets you above the 33 pretty comfortably, up to about 37 a game in terms of those stats right there, 38. And against the Lakers, like, this is where you score from mostly. I've been picking on D'Lo for a while. I will say temper your expectations from the standpoint that Gabe Vincent's back, and Gabe Vincent is a good defender, not great defender. And we'll see how good of a defender he is, not in a Miami Heat, the culture kind of defense system, because we haven't really seen him much this year, although he is better as the defending point guard than obviously D'Lo is, or even at this point like Taurean Prince, who's tried to guard guys that are just way too quick for him. But more importantly for Kobe White, I don't think there's a great matchup for him. Vanderbilt might not play as well. He's also questionable, which gives you another plus defender that could be off the floor. La Flama Blanca has gone over in 8 of 9 since LaVine went down. He's leading the team with 40 minutes per game as well. What's interesting is the usage rate goes up, doesn't go up that high. It was at about with LaVine out, it goes up a lot. But it stayed around 24%. It's not like he's flying up to like 30%. And now it's because it's not your turn, my turn with he and DeMar DeRozan. They're spacing. The potential assists have gone up for both he and DeMar DeRozan because there's actual ball movement and there's actual assists to be had, as I mentioned a minute ago. And so I think that's just going to keep working for him. The other thing I love about him is he's getting to the paint. And Kobe White, I think that if he stays on this trajectory, by next season, we're talking about a 7 free throw attempts kind of point guard, which you love to get for 7 free throw attempts from your starting point guard. Like, that's found money for sure. There's very, very few guards that get to the free throw line 7 times, and he's doing it 5 times. And I think he'll only be told to continue to attack even more. He's scoring 30% of his points in the paint, which over the course of the last 9 games is good for top 10 most among point guards. And consider Shai a point guard. He really ruins all that stuff, as does Luka. But whatever you want to do with that. The rebound chances go up to actually 3rd on the team. The potential assist number 1 on the team. So I just love the volume that he's experiencing. The Lakers bottom 10 in allowing 10th most points, 3rd most rebounds, and 12th most assists to point guards this season. So yeah, I think La Flama Blanca is a great bet to continue going for all the stats in this one.
Yeah, it is a trap spot here for the Lakers. I mean, not that they've been winning prior to this trap spot, but it's a look-ahead spot because they got the Wolves tomorrow night, back-to-back. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if AD or LeBron misses the front end here. Then they get OKC, then they get the Celtics on Christmas. And, yeah, it's just a non-conference game, on the road, on this road trip that they're on. They're just not bringing it consistently. Gabe Vincent, first game back, right? I mean, he's probable, but he hasn't played in a while, so it's not like he's going to keep in front of this really quick point guard. Vanderbilt looks like he'll play, but he'll be on different, DeRozan or someone else. Yeah. But yeah, if AD or LeBron sits as well, then you do like a little bit more production here from the Bulls. And right now, Kobe White is the engine of this Bulls offense. So interesting. Zach LaVine is probably his most likely landing spot is the Lakers. So I don't know how that plays into the motivation as they continue to show that he's not valuable by winning. Maybe the Lakers are fine with that so that they can get him for less. But I mean, that's just, playing 4-dimensional chess when all we really need is Kobe White to keep putting up the numbers he's been putting up.
100%. Yep. 100%. We'll look to get into the sweeps here for you on this Wednesday slate with these player props. And that is all the time that we have for you. Continue to follow along. Check out the best bets video as well that we have up for you each and every weekday. Till we see you next. Happy betting.